Go Jump in the Pool, a Bruno and Boots story by Gordon Korman. Chapter 8, Jingle Fever. This contest thing, grumbled Boots, is costing us 25 G's in postage alone. Toss me another one of those entry forms for the Sudso detergent cash giveaway, said Bruno. We're bound to win if we enter enough of them. Cool Cola, Snuggums Long Johns, Sudso detergent, Bibble Bubble Gum, snorted Boots. This is insanity. It's the kind of insanity that's going to keep people like you out of places like York Academy, Bruno retorted. We've got to win something. 2 whole campuses are heart and soul into this campaign. That was true. Every magazine and comic book was ripped to shreds as students searched for entry forms. Cold cereal was enjoying an unprecedented popularity at breakfast, so that more box tops would be available. McDonald Hall's outgoing mail filled 10 sacks instead of the usual 2. Students were occupied with praising products in 50 words or less, and inventing catchy jingles to sell everything from toilet paper to limousines. I've got it, Bruno exclaimed. Listen to this. Cool Cola tastes just great. Buy a bottle, maybe 8. If you really like this stuff, you can never get enough. How about that, eh? Maybe 8? Boots repeated. What about all those numbers in between, like 7s, 2s, 4s? None of those rhyme with great, said Bruno. I'm sending it in. It's a cinch. There was a polite knock on the door. Am I interrupting anything? Came the timid voice of Elmer Grimsdale. Oh, nothing much, called Boots sarcastically. Only the greatest jingle ever to sell a bottle of pop. Or maybe 8. Come on in. Elmer entered the room. Could you please spare an entry blank for the Cool Cola Jingle contest? He requested. I think I've come up with the winner. A tie! Crowed Boots. We have a tie! Let's hear it. Elmer cleared his throat. Caffeine for your adult pate, carbohydrates for your weight. Make your thorax palpitate. Get Cool Cola by the crate. Without a word, Bruno handed over an entry blank, and Elmer rushed off to complete it. The scene was similar that evening in many McDonald Hall rooms. In 107, Chris Talbot was laboring over a piece of paper. Let's see, he said slowly. I eat Snappy Wappies for breakfast because... They taste like sawdust, finished his roommate. Well, yes, they do, Chris admitted, but I can't put that. So I'll put that they're delicious and they set me up for the whole day. That should win me something. Pete Anderson leaned back in his chair and surveyed his work with great satisfaction. I've just completed 119 entries for the Happy Elephant Jelly Bean contest, he announced to his roommate. It's that count the jelly beans in the jar thing. Surely one of my guesses has to be right. Said his roommate absently. What rhymes with refrigerator? Listen to this, said Mark Davies to Louis Brown. What a shine from Gleamo Wax. It really takes those hits and whacks. You couldn't scratch it with an axe. $1.10, including tax. Pretty good, admitted Louis. But naturally it's no match for this. Use a Smithfoot odor pad, and your feet won't smell so bad. That's touching, said Mark. Very touching. On construction, wrote Sidney Rampolsky, you should always wear a hat, because if someone drops a brick on your head and you're not wearing a hat, you could die. I think I've come up with something honest and refreshing, said Wilbur Hackenschleimer to his roommate. It's for the Whippo cheese spread contest. Listen. I love Whippo cheese spread because it's food, and anything that's food is okay by me. Hey, why are you laughing? What's so funny? I like Asgard soap because it gets you so clean that you don't have to take another stupid bath for a month, wrote Marvin Trimble. A month? Boy, I'm putting in for another roommate. Perry Albert was poetic. He wrote, 'Twas a dark and stormy night, and my heart was filled with fright, but everything turned out all right. I had my Sammy Horse nightlight. The contest fever carried across the road. Miss Scrimmage's girls were hard at work filling in entry blanks and making up commercials. I've been using Fragrant Daisy shampoo for 40 years, read Kathy Burton, and never once have I had a speck of dandruff. That's ridiculous, exclaimed Diane Grant. You haven't even been alive for 40 years. True, said Kathy. And it's also true that I've never been a stock car racer. But that didn't stop me from saying that I only use Exec motor oil. No matter what I have to say, Boots is staying right where he is. Fine, observed Diane. And what if you win the contest and they come here looking for a racing driver? They'll find out you're not even old enough to have a license. That's why I signed Miss Scrimmage's name, Kathy replied. The thought of Miss Scrimmage piloting a racing car was too much. They collapsed into gales of laughter. After a few days, things settled down at MacDonald Hall, and most of the boys concerned themselves solely with academic matters. With the number of available contests dwindling, Bruno racked his brain for another money-raising project, and Boots continued to write glowing letters home. On Thursday morning, before breakfast, Boots opened the door of room 306 to admit the office messenger. There was a note for Bruno and an identical one for himself. They read, "You are invited to the headmaster's residence this afternoon at 4 o'clock to see photographs from the talent show. Cookies and milk will be served." The signature was Mrs. Sturgeon. "She has to be the nicest person in the world," Boots remarked, but there was no reply. Bruno never got up for breakfast. When he got to the dining hall, Boots found that all the boys who had appeared in the talent show had received similar invitations, and all were as pleased as he was. At 4 that afternoon, the cast of the talent show appeared on Mrs. Sturgeon's doorstep. Butterfingers Rampolsky tried to make himself small behind Wilbur. He was not quite sure that he hadn't been called to account for throwing the eggs at Miss Scrimmage, but Mrs. Sturgeon was all smiles as she bustled them into her living room. "Cookies and milk first," she said brightly. "You're all growing boys." The boys ate happily, although they were quiet and a little shy at being invited to the headmaster's home socially. Mrs. Sturgeon produced a photo album from the drawer of a cabinet. "Gather around, boys, so everyone can see." The pictures broke the ice, and the boys were soon chattering and laughing easily. "Hey, there's Bruno! Look at that stupid grin! Get a load of Huey and Louie! Look, Butterfingers, there you are just before you— Don't say it, I know what I did! Look at Hackenschleimer's muscles! Wow, the Scrimmettes!" The picture of the amazing Frederick with his head in the fish tank got a big cheer, as did the sight of Boots being sawed in half by Marvin the Magnificent. There was even a picture of Elmer Drimsdale, his face all scrunched up, with an owl swooping down on him. This brought more hilarity to the group. But the biggest cheer of all came from the picture of the headmaster of MacDonald Hall being attacked by his door prize. Boots laughed until the tears ran down his cheeks. "That would win first prize in any photo contest," he declared. Bruno looked thoughtful.